Welcome to the TV Toastmasters Humorous Speech and Tabletopic Contest. One bit of business before we get started. I wanted to congratulate the club on being a distinguished club for last year, so we're going to put this on the banner today.
All right.
I'd like to welcome our contest chair for today, Carol Cormelink.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer at the moment. I'd like to remind you to please turn off your cell phones on silent, unless you're a brain surgeon and you need to have it on, and any pagers. I'd also like to thank all of our guests for coming and the people from other clubs that have come to help us run the contest. Thank you all, and we'll be talking with you later on and thanking you. Our Toastmaster today is Rick Davis, and he will be leading us in our speech contest, our table topics, and our humorous speech. We will start with the humorous speech contest, and I'd like to welcome Rick back to the lectern.
I'd like to present the order for the humorous speech contest. First will be Richard Gant, G-A-N-T. Second will be Steve Ahrenholz, A-H-R-E-N-H-O-L-Z. Gant and then Ahrenholz. Chief Judge, have all the judges been briefed?
Yes.
And I briefed all of the contestants, so I think we're ready to start. Are the contestants ready?
Yeah.
All right. First up, Richard Gant, Sparrow Lasers. Sparrow Lasers, Richard Gant.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, there are just some things in life that you cannot prepare for no matter what. Case in point, this is something that happened to me, oh good Lord, it's about 20 years ago now. Where did the time go? I was raised as a Mormon, and like so many young Mormon men, I decided I'd go off and serve my church as a missionary for 2 years. There's nothing weird about that whatsoever, despite spending 2 years as a straight man in the company of nothing but other men. The only abnormal part about it really was that I went to Utah. I'll let that sink in if you didn't really grasp the import. Utah, home of the Mormons, and I'm there to proselyte for 2 years. This was my face when I read that letter. Anyway, at the time of this story, I was serving in a town called North Ogden, which took its creative name from the fact that it was a town just to the north of a city called Ogden. What do you want? To visualize where it's at, find Salt Lake City on a map. Draw a line due north from Salt Lake City to the Utah border. About 2/5 of the way up that line is North Ogden. That line itself represents something called the Wasatch Front, which is where the Wasatch Mountains on the east flatten out and flow downhill into the Great Salt Lake. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I recommend it highly as a vacation destination. It's also a desert that masquerades as not a desert through the use of irrigation, and at the time I was there, we were experiencing a heat wave. So, neither me nor my companion were particularly interested in going out and knocking on doors the way most missionaries do, because that way lay heat stroke and madness, and neither of us had sufficient faith to believe that God would preserve us from our own stupidity. So, when we got the phone call, that was a godsend, because it was one of the members and one of the wards and one of the stakes that we covered. And as an aside, if you insert parish and diocese there, you get an idea of what we were covering. It was one of our stake missionaries who is a member of the local congregation, who has a wife, has a family, has a regular job, and works with us a couple of days a week. Sort of like what you'd get if the National Guard were missionaries. The Mormons are organized, what can I say? Elders, he says. And that's what all the male Mormon missionaries are called, elder, even by men old enough to be our fathers or our grandfathers. Are you doing anything today? Well, I get out my day planner. Don't have anything scheduled. Why? Well, I've just met somebody who'd love to talk to you. Really? Excellent. Because, when you're 23 and out serving as a missionary, you really want to be teaching. You don't want to be knocking on doors. And having somebody refer you to somebody is a godsend again. So we get the name, we get the address, we back on over to meet the gentleman, who I will call Abraham. It's not his real name, but you'll see why towards the end of the story I'm calling him that. It takes us a little while to find him because he lives in a little trailer park near an interstate overpass, and all the mail is delivered to boxes at the entrance to the park. So we go around 2-3 times in this 103-degree, zero humidity heat. But finally we find this trailer, and we meet him. He's just excited as can be to see us. He's happy. We're having a conversation, and we go to schedule an appointment to come back later that day to do our first actual lesson. At which point my companion says, well, what got you interested in learning about our church? And his answer lives with me to this day. Well, Sunday morning I was out walking past the local church down there. And he points, and I look. It's a Baptist church. I was out walking, and there was a huge flock of birds on the lawn. And I figured God was sending me a sign. It's still a Baptist church. To talk to the Mormon missionaries? Yep. Well, God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform, I figure. All right, we'll go with it. So he's got errands to run. We're burning up in slacks, white button-down shirt and tie. So we get on our bikes and head on home. We call our stake missionary and tell him, hey, we scheduled an appointment tonight. Would you like to go with us? And he says, yes, I'd love to. Because he wants to feel like he's doing his job too. So fast forward to that evening. He's still excited when he comes to pick us up. We get in his car, we drive over there, and we get invited in. We take a seat in the living room of his single-wide trailer. It's kind of Spartan, guy living by himself in a trailer park. We're good to go. We don't jump into that first lesson right away, though. Instead, we have a little bit of a conversation first. Get to know him, let him get to know us. We talk about how long we've been out, where we're from, what he does for a living. I'm connected to a sparrow by a laser beam, he says. I think my response was, you what? But I had heard it clearly because that is the sort of thing that really catches your attention. Our poor stake missionary, just for a moment, looked like a frog in a flashlight. And if the beam breaks, I blow up. This is when I look around the room again, because there's 2 windows. Both windows are closed because the air conditioning's on, and the blinds are drawn. Okay, fine. The conversation goes on. Everything seems normal. We go into that first lesson where we start talking about prophets. Okay, good. He says, you mean like Abraham? Yes, exactly like Abraham. Good example. I remember being him. What? That's when I won my chess match with death. Now, I'm not a biblical scholar. That does not appear in the Bible. And now, when I reach the end of a normal human lifespan, I shrink back down into a baby and grow up again. Brother Abraham, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. Unfortunately, we have other appointments that we have to get to today. We don't. And so we have to leave. But would you mind if we offered a prayer first? Because I'm making a life decision right now. That life decision is I do not want to be part of his lifelike flesh mask collection in his secret murder dungeon. And so we got out of there. My face is still here. To this day, I have no idea if this gentleman was serious or in need of help or just trolling us, but I've never been able to look at a sparrow the same way. Mr. Toastmaster?
Could the timers give us 1 minute for the judges to fill out their forms?
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience For men and women, Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
Our next contestant in the humorous speech contest, Steve Ahrenholz. Do I have kids? Do I have kids? Steve Ahrenholz.
Do I have kids? That's an interesting question. I never quite know what the correct answer is. It probably depends on who's asking and why. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Yes, I have kids. They're 4 and 10. They fight with each other, and then they'll turn around and they'll be nice to each other. They'll argue over toys, even if it is 2 of the exact same toys. They can be on their absolutely worst behavior when company is present. Of course, if I put them in their kennel, no one will say anything, which doesn't work with children. Their ages in human years are 32 and 56, and I have met 32 and 56-year-olds that behave like they do at times. Let me introduce my kids, Tater and Sprout. Tater, our oldest, is 10, and Sprout is our youngest. Tater, we got when he was 6 weeks old. Unfortunately for him and us, it was in December. He did not like the house training process. You would take him outside, and if he wasn't on a leash, no matter where he was in the yard, his nose pointed straight at the door, and he would run that direction, whether he did what you took him outside to do or not. Tater also is obsessive compulsive. He will lick on his toys until they are just a ball of slop. This is an outside toy. If the garage door is open, he will run around the house and go in the garage, and you better listen, because you may hear some noise, and that's because he's trying to climb the shelves to get up and get that toy off of the hook on the wall. He also licks. Tater cannot hold his liquor. He will lick your toes. He will lick your nose. If you bend over to pick him up, he will lick you across the glasses. I think sometimes he regards us as human popsicles. Sprout is, as I mentioned, our youngest. I also refer to them at times as my stepdogs. Sprout is a rescue. We got Sprout when she was about a year old. We had never thought about bait dogs. The online organization we found her through had her turned in as a bait dog. I cannot fathom people subjecting animals to that kind of treatment. She learned that living with us, baths are part of the routine. Let me tell you, the first bath she had, I'd never bathed a dog that was crawling up your chest while you're trying to rinse them off. I'm not sure if she was the wetter of the two of us or it was me. She has learned now she doesn't jump out of her spa, aka the laundry tub, like she used to. She also likes her toys, like her brother Tater. However, Sprout prefers to gut her toys herself. You come into the room and there is stuffing everywhere. Don't buy one of those toys that they market now that has no stuffing in it. That's not worthwhile. If you can't gut your own toys, what good is it? Dogs do remind us of the importance of simple things in life. The importance and joy of a walk. How wonderful it is to find a nice, warm, sunny spot on the floor to lie in. Of course, they might fight over it too, but for the most part, it's a real luxury. The joy of playing. And I think one of the things that's really important to realize is unconditional love and acceptance. At our house, when you come home, the first person to come home, they'll be there at the door, all excited, but that dies down really quickly. It's the second person that comes home that's going to have a greeting by the all Hound Dog Hallelujah Greeting Committee. Tater will be trying to howl. Ooh! And it's pretty funny when you realize that Tater has the corners of his mouth just slightly in front of his ears. So getting his mouth formed is pretty amusing. Sprout, on the other hand, is flying around like the Tasmanian devil, whipping the living daylights out of a toy. You have to pick them both up. They both will lick your ears. Good thing you have two. Doesn't matter what kind of a day you've had, what kind of a mood you're in, they're always thrilled to see you. I have to agree with a quote that I came across from Roger Karras. Dogs aren't our whole life, but they make our lives whole. Mr. Toastmaster?
All right, we need 1 minute for the judges to fill out their forms. Once you have your form filled out, be sure and sign it and then hold it up for the counters to collect.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
Welcome back. We're going to start the Tabletopics contest for the TV Toastmasters. I want to give you the speaking order again. First will be Rick Barron. Second will be Richard Gant. Third will be Melanie Jones Gant. Fourth will be Steve Ahrenholz. And can I ask the second through fourth contestants to leave the room so we can get started? Our first contestant, Rick Barron. Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Rick Barron.
Thank you. Everyone grows up watching The Wizard of Oz, getting drawn into the story, the drama, and the characters, only to find out there's a man behind the curtain faking each and every piece of it. But it was real up until the time that that was revealed to us. So in my mind, The Wizard of Oz is just like anything else. It's all about belief. What you believe in is your reality. And that reality is as true to you as ever, regardless if there's a man behind the curtain manipulating everything or whether or not it's solid rock sitting directly in front of you. Mr. Tabletopics Master.
1 minute so the judges can mark their ballots.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Oh? nomine Patri et Filii Spiritui Sancti.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Contestant number 3, Melanie Jones Gant. Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Melanie Jones Gant.
The Wizard of Oz has been used for both a fraud and a genius, both the books and the movie. The book is basically a children's story about a small child who is ripped away from her family and goes to another magical world. It's genius because it's been used in speeches, allegories, things like her silver shoes, not red shoes, the movie shoes, have been used for allegories for industry and the rise and fall of the industrial age. It's also been used for people who are out of place or strangers. The reason it's a fraud is, who can believe a walking scarecrow? The details of that story are so intricate that it's been used for so many different things that a fraud or a genius, Mr. Tabletopics.
1 minute so the judges can mark their ballot.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
Our fourth contestant, Steve Ahrenholz. Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Steve Ahrenholz.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Wizard of Oz, genius or fraud? Actually, I think it qualifies for both. Genius in that there are a lot of things that you will see throughout the movie that were quite advanced for the time, and some of the effects that they did were pretty amazing when you realize what they had to work with. Having snow, the witch on her bicycle in the storm, flying around, and all this in the background. Because remember, we didn't really have all the computer tools that we have now. That was pretty amazing. Things like the Sea of Poppies and the Little People. Fraud, I think, also applies, because when we see the wizard, he actually was this bigger-than-life creation in people's minds. And that's who Dorothy the Tin Man, the Lion, and the Scarecrow went to see. But they're in to see the Oz. He's trying to dismiss them, and they say, Toto's over there pulling on the curtain. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Oz was a fake. And he couldn't really help them get back to Kansas. Sometimes you'll hear people quip, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, when they want you to ignore something, either because it's just a mistake and things aren't going right, or sometimes because we really don't want you to see what's truly going on here. That would be my spin on Wizard of Oz. Genius or fraud? Mr. Toastmaster?
Okay, judges, please tally up your scores and hold them up so that the counters can collect them.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
Right, we're going to ask the table topics participants to come up. Why don't you guys come up here and we'll do the interview thing. Rick,
Thank you.
Richard,
Thank you.
Melanie, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you all for participating in the Table Topics contest and also in the Humorous Speech contest. I have some additional table topics for all of you. So,
I think I know these answers.
let me ask you a question. I ran this table topic question in front of Carol, to get some feedback or whatever, and she thought it was a terrible question. I was just wondering, is there any thoughts about the question?
I have to agree, it wasn't a question. I'm sorry. I think it was interesting, but having experience with different contests, there wasn't enough in it because I didn't understand the question to be able to answer. So
I absolutely disagree. Picked up on that when I did my table topic comments, but I thought it was wonderfully open-ended and can be interpreted any number of different ways. Book, character, movie, all of them. So it was excellent, I thought.
I liked it. I thought it was a question that you could do something with. But maybe that's the way I think.
I've come to expect zingers for table topics, so nothing shocks me.
Well, I was hoping to provide something that people could kind of have fun with, do a humorous thing, or a kind of a motivational speech with. So, and I think Rick took a motivational aspect to it, and I don't think anybody really did maybe Richard did a kind of a humorous thing in addition to the kind of the historical thing. So, anyway, Rick Barron, you survived your youth.
That's my accomplishment.
Your accomplishment.
Right.
Did you have a rough youth?
It's all, growing up, it's amazing to me that kids actually make it to their 21st birthday. Nowadays they all wear helmets and seat belts and child seats and all this stuff. We didn't have any. You had your mom's arm or something, that's what you had. And that, on top of the fact that I was just a derelict, it just surprises me that I survived my youth.
Richard, on your profile you say that you play the guitar. How does that go? Are you a professional level?
No. No, I coincidentally started teaching myself to play the guitar right around the same time that I acquired a son. So I'm not always as diligent with the playing as I should be. I can pick out a tune, I can almost hit a rhythm, and I can hurt my fingers badly trying to play chords.
All right. Melanie, your favorite quote is, "You eat an elephant one bite at a time." I just wonder, has anybody ever tried to eat an elephant?
I don't know, but I know that dogs have eaten woolly mammoths.
Yeah.
On my background as an anthropologist, one of my favorite stories was when the ice started melting and the dogs up in Siberia started eating woolly mammoths. That's like the only thing I know about elephant eating.
Steve, one of your interests are your dogs, and you talked about your dogs. I was just wondering, have you had a dog your whole life? Or?
Actually not. When I was little, I wanted a dog, and my mother had gone to a market somewhere, and they actually had little puppies, but they were $35 a piece, which back in the early 60s was fairly expensive for a dog. The neighbors had a Chihuahua that I used to carry around and play with and everything else, so I always wanted a dog. We finally got a Dalmatian. My mother was working at a place, and the boss's wife gave us that. So that was my first dog. My father was always, well, if the boys can't take care of the dog, we'll just have to get rid of it. So after our Dalmatian, we lost our Dalmatian, my mother wanted to get another dog, and it was my mother's dog. I trained him. We had a miniature schnauzer. My sister would play with him. She'd put curlers in his beard and all that stuff. But it was my mother's dog, so that my dad couldn't say, if you boys don't take care of the dog, we'll have to get rid of it. And I haven't had dogs for the period of time when I was single. When I met my now wife, she had 3 cats and a dog, and I think I had to pass the animal test as one of the things in our courtship, because she only cooked once and invited me over to her house for dinner, because I usually do all the cooking. But I was there sitting on her couch. Her little Boston Terrier that she had, we've had Boston Terriers now the entire 25 years we've been married, but the Boston Terrier was on my lap and threw up on me, and that was a sign that they like you. The 3 cats, 2 that never came around anybody, were all walking around my head and everything else, and it was like, oh, Tigger, one of her cats, always runs and hides when people come. So I guess they were maybe like, what is this? Do we need to be concerned about this? So I think that they have their pluses and minuses. You learn to put up with some dog hair, and all of our glass that we have that's about 12 inches off the floor has slobber across it. But they also add immensely to your life.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for participating in the Table Topics contest and the Humorous Speech contest. Thank you. And we're going to break now until we get the results back from the judges.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Nomine Patri et Filii Spiritui Sancti.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Welcome back. The first place winners in today's contest will advance to the Area 52 contest on Tuesday, September 16th at the Midland Trading Center in Amelia. To tell us who are the victors in today's contest, our contest chair, Carol Cormelink, and our Area 52 Governor, Prashant Medareddy. Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guest. We will start with I have these in the wrong order because we always do the table topics first and leave the big one for the suspense. Would our third place winner, Rick Barron, please come up? Congratulations. Would our second place winner come up? Steve Ahrenholz. Congratulations. Ta-da! Oh, yes, I forgot. We made a lot of noise. You can cut that out. Would our first place winner, Richard Gant, the Tabletopics contest winner. Very good, thank you. And we need you all to come support Richard at our area contest. Our second place winner for the Humorous Speech Contest, Richard Gant. And our first place winner for the Humorous Speech Contest, Stephen Ahrenholz. And we will turn control of the meeting back to our president.
Thank you, Madam Contest Chair. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests here today, thank you all for coming and helping our contest meeting be a success today. As was mentioned earlier, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, this program will be broadcast on community access television during the month of September. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, September 4th at 6 p.m. And our next Saturday meeting will be the third Saturday in September, which I don't know what date that is right offhand. One of the other things that's coming up, and this for all of you folks here, this won't do our audience much good because we broadcast 1 month after the actual event. But there's going to be a Toastmaster event downtown that one of our members, Carol Cormalank, is very involved in getting set up. And this is going to be on Thursday, August 28th. And it's going to be downtown Cincinnati at 815 Main Street, corner of Main and 8th. It will start with social hour at like 6:30. And then there will be the actual program will begin at 7. Our guest who is going to be giving a presentation is Gary Mull. He is one of our past district governors and an international director. If you've never heard any of Gary's presentations, I'm sure it will be excellent. So think about that. I know that is the Thursday night before Labor Day weekend, so I don't know what everybody else has planned. It is downtown, which is sometimes a detraction as far as having to deal with parking, but at least that's something else to do if you are so inclined. I'd like to thank our Toastmaster for today, Rick Davis, our Chief Judge, Patty Raggets, our Contest Chair, Carol Cormalank, and all of our judges and other Toastmasters that helped us with today's meeting. With that, I'm going to adjourn the August 16th, 2014 TV Toastmasters Fall Contest Meeting.